All right, I'm gonna get it started. What's popping, everyone? My name is Alexis. I use he, him as pronouns. I'm the outgoing programming and planning chair for the Black Professional Network and soon to be chair-elect. And I work at the University of Connecticut as a residence hall director. And today is we have planned a dope session that I think will have a lot of our wheels turning and a lot of reflection happening in terms of going into a new year and reflecting on the past year that we have. How are we balancing our lives and work to make sure that our cups are filled both literally and metaphorically in terms of how we taking care of ourselves. And it's my honor to introduce our speaker that is going to drop many gems. So if you have a pen and paper, that would be great. But Deanna Hughes is an Assistant Director in Conduct and Care at Florida State University, and also the Women in Housing Chair. And Deanna is really passionate. I've been in panels with Deanna, and one of the things that I remember is how much she talked about how it is to balance both being a professional and being a person too. And it's important that the person is first, right? And so one of the things that I've heard Deanna say in the past is the importance of taking a Black day and taking that Black day out of work and to do something that you're passionate about, right? Or something that fills your cup, whether hanging out with family or doing something that makes, or singing or dancing, right? So I'm gonna turn it over to Deanna to talk more about balancing life and work and what does that look like. So thank y'all.
Alexis, thank you so much for that introduction. For the folks that are in the space, thank y'all for making the time to engage with me. For people who know me, look, it's going to be some call and response. The folks churched me, so it is what it is. But I just hope that for folks who do have the capacity, when I'm saying drop some things in the chat, y'all talk to me. When we get to a certain point, and if you're comfortable unmuting, y'all literally speak your truth into the space. But thank y'all. For those who really don't know me, have yet to kind of connect with me, I'm Deanna C. Hughes. I use a she, her series of pronouns. I love being a partner. I love being a parent. I love being a student affairs professionals. Back in my heyday, I used to play some basketball, my favorite sport, love to coach it. One day I will be officiating it because I can't get enough of it. But shout out to our football friends. You know, we out here, we doing the thing. I'm not in a place yet to talk about, what happened with FSU and, them not getting to the ship. However, I feel like it's going to be a great time in January. So before I get on my tangent, what I'm going to do is share screen so we can jump right into the presentation. Y'all ready? All right, let's do it. Okay, so we're going to talk about finding our balance. So you see me there, and at the end, y'all will be able to connect with me via my phone as well as my email for like continued conversation or some opportunities to collaborate because I'm all about that. But let's get into it. Did some fancy transitions for y'all. But essentially during our time together, I really hope that you all are able to identify 4 or more pillars that hold you steady and upright, because that's essentially going to be the definition I'm going to be rocking with during our time. I also hope that you're able to evaluate how your personhood impacts the environments that you occupy. So workspaces, hobbies, families, friends, wherever you are, just being cognizant of how you show up and make things better and or enhance things, and or when you get to that place of recognizing that your beauty, your light, your goodness needs a break away from the spaces that may not be life-giving, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. Also look forward to us talking about leaving work at work. I feel like we know it, but oftentimes we pour ourselves and then some into it, and then it tends to go with us where we go. So we're going to talk about unplugging and then scheduling it. And I put that in parentheses for a reason, because that's whatever we want to make time for, whatever we value. But when it comes to our time together, I truly hope that those 4 bullet points or learning outcomes for folks who love the higher education language, the K through 12 language, this is my hope that y'all take away. And I love me some quotes, so y'all gonna see that throughout the presentation. But balance is not better time management, but better boundary management.
Hey, one second, Deanna.
Yeah,
Are we supposed to see PowerPoint or slides?
yeah, y'all not able to see it just yet?
No, not yet.
Thank you so much, Kayla. Let me make sure I got the share screen to where y'all can see it. And let me know when you can see it, okay? Is it showing yet?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, let's go. Y'all saw that ripple effect? In there. Okay. Thank you so much, Kayla. All right, so this
No
was what I
problem.
was talking about as I was reading to y'all. So that's our agenda for today, for lack of better words. But identifying those 4 more pillars that hold you steady and upright, evaluating your personhood and how it impacts the environments you occupy, talking about leaving work at work, and then scheduling it. And that's whatever that it is for you. So without further ado, I'm gonna have y'all talk to me. We're gonna vibe for a bit. Once I just kind of center what balance meant to me when I was mapping out this presentation, as well as just how it shows up for me as a person. So you see, we do all the things, right? And then sometimes we have to unlearn how to do a whole bunch of nothing, which will bless you if you let it. But the definitions that center in my conversation, this conversation, is balance is an even distribution of weight, enabling someone or something to remain upright and steady. So right now we talking about self the whole way through. And then secondarily, this other definition I liked was that it's also a condition in which different elements are equal or in correct proportions. And I know depending on how life has been life for you all, that definition of work-life balance, or that phrase, for lack of better words, may or may not work with you, and that's absolutely okay. And I hope that we do have time to talk about some folks utilize work-life harmony, work-life blend, things of that nature. But these were the 2 definitions, the first one and one I preferenced throughout our conversation today. So y'all go ahead and talk to me real quick. When it comes to finding your balance, I want y'all to drop in the chat for me your 4 or more pillars that keep you balanced or steady and upright. And as y'all are dropping that in the chat for me to see what's happening in there, I'm going to have y'all kind of hear me out when I talk about some of mine, because it may help you to just drop in the chat, like, what are those things, right? So first thing first, for me, when I talk about finding my balance and what that looks like in my day-to-day, is definitely love, which is just based on my faith and my family. My second pillar is nourishment, and that's not only just body, but that's also mind. Maslow's hierarchy of need when it comes to food, water, just basic things like that. Secondarily, relaxation. So for me, in order to remain balanced and at my best, I find myself also having to take those days, just because in the beginning, Alexis kind of talked about the things that I'm really big on speaking to when it comes to just centering yourself and making sure your joy is on full. And then last but not least, I love to work, y'all. I'm not gonna flex, but my career. So I appreciate y'all dropping some things as far as like what centers you. I see faith, family, fun, and peace. That's what's up, Alethea. Boundaries, okay, Tawana. Community, relationship with God, counseling. I see James, family, food, downtime, personal growth. So these things that keep you steady, upright, keep you balanced and at your best. It's important to know what those 4 or more pillars are, because when we're in the midst of doing the things we do for others and the people we love and care for, as well as in the work, sometimes we tend to sacrifice or put on the back burner the things that centers us. So shout out to y'all for like naming it, because it's very important to name what are those 4 or more pillars that keep you balanced. And shout out to somebody, I see music, gaming, exercising, and peacetime. Me and video games are best friends. I'm still on old school PlayStation, not 1, not 2, 3, 4, 5. Just had to say goodbye to my Nintendo. So if one of y'all find where I could get me one, I mean the old school, they so old, blowing the tapes, put a little alcohol on Nintendos, not Nintendo 64. Please let me know, send that to me in my email. But thank y'all for sparking it off with just kind of sharing, how do you find your balance? What are those things that center you and your joy? So the next thing I want us to talk about a little bit goes into just the reality of what we deal with as Black student affairs professionals. So I'm hopeful that y'all continue to talk with me, as well as listen to some of the things that I wanted to share when I did a little mini lit review. Shout out to me deciding that I wanted to get another degree. So here we go with this hat on, just what is our reality. But as we all know or should know, we as Black professionals are desired, we're highly sought after because we are dopeness and we bring that powerful and needed element into the spaces we occupy. As a result, though, sometimes of being excellent and outstanding, we are also often exploited or exhausted from doing all the things and being all the things. So on this note, I just wanted to say that we must protect our peace and our joy and our power. So I definitely wanted to spend a good bit of time on this slide to just talk through some things that I got a chance to do a little mini deep dive in while I was working on some homework anyways. So if y'all don't hear anything else, I hope y'all hold fast to some of the things that I shared during this current period in time. But y'all know we're desired, you know we're highly sought after, but we must also advocate for ourselves and consistently prioritize our whole selves. We all know, or sometimes we need to know and follow through with, no job should cause us to lose our joy, our spark, or have our health be sacrificed, because health is wealth. And I got plenty stories for those who may not know just yet what I mean. So what I did was I took the liberty of checking out an article entitled Fool's Gold: Career Advice for Young Black Academics by Jason Arday. And a little bit about Jason Arday is he's a professor of sociology of education at the University of Glasgow, and he's a trustee at the Runnymede Trust, which is the UK's leading race equality think tank and the British Sociological Association. So what I'm going to do is make sure that y'all get the link so you can look at the article, which is kind of like a quick hit on some things that is important about being Black in higher education and how to make sure that you're protecting your peace while doing excellent work. But before I share highlights of the read, I want us to start with sharing in the chat, like the wisdom that I know that is in this space, what we already know based on lived experiences and working with one another. So what I'm gonna do real quick is say it aloud and drop it in the chat, but I'm gonna say being Black in higher education is ... and I want y'all to fill in the gap. What is it like for you? What is it like for the people that you love and care for and discuss this work with? But I'm gonna start with us, our thoughts about it, our realities and lived experiences about it. And I don't want us to hold back. So share the great, share the good, the frustrating, the hard, the bad, the ugly, all of it. But that's real, Yolanda. Thank you for sharing. Having to wear many hats. I see Eliza, making sure to be there for students that look like me. Being Black in higher education is, for me, it's been rewarding. I see you, Alethea, on the same page. Challenging. Gabriel, yes. Overwhelming. Yes, Janice. Janice, sometimes exhausting. That's real right there. Not being able to mess up because all eyes are on you. Limited resources. That's a word, Taylor. Having to jump through additional hoops that my counterparts might not have to. Being viewed differently in non-Black spaces. Yes, Tawana. Resilience, trailblazing, and being an example at all times. Yolanda, no lies detected. Dealing with entitlement issues with students. Kayla, that's a Selah moment for me, being overlooked and overworked. So first and foremost, y'all, I want to say thank you for being vulnerable in this space and trusting one another with what you shared. Also for keeping it real, because it's so many things, right? It's a hodgepodge of beautiful, it's a hodgepodge of mess, of stress, of excellence, yielding grace, having to reinvent yourself. And I love this because what we're going to see when I talk a little bit more about what Jason Arday shared in his article, you're gonna see a lot of similar themes about it. And he did like a quick hit on 5 important things that we should know and do. So the first one that he said, as y'all continue to share, which is important, is to recognize when you are being asked to do extra work. And when he talked about the extra work, he specifically focused on the extra duties asked of us to fight racism in the academy. I would personally add to recognize the reality with all the isms, and to pay attention, as far as like word of advice, pay attention to who is being tapped and asked and who is not. I love, Felicia, that you said advocating for yourself, because an additional thing I wanted to share into the space is not to be afraid to call the behaviors into questions, to ask the questions that deserves the answers, while taking your days off at least once a month, just because. If y'all hear me say anything, y'all are going to hear me say it more than a little bit. Every month, at least one day off, just because Jason Arday also says to be aware of when you find yourself becoming overwhelmed and or exhausted because of the gift that you are to the spaces that you occupy within your careers. So I saw earlier about advocating for yourselves, being overwhelmed, like what those realities are for us as individuals, the additional duties as assigned because of our excellence and how well we know how to engage with everybody and anybody, right? I hear my mom, she says sometimes it feels like a blessing and a cursing to be so great. And you know, hard work is oftentimes rewarded with more work. But shout out, PTO, can't say it enough. But thank you for sharing that. But that second part that he said, please hold fast, be aware when you find yourself becoming overwhelmed and or exhausted. So my question to you all, because I got another one, is when was the last time you called a loved one and talked about something outside of work? Because earlier I said, take a day off just because, right? As far as finding balance in order to remain steady and upright, to playing the video games, connecting with the family, traveling, taking a staycation, sleeping half a day. But go ahead and drop in the chat. When was the last time you called a loved one and talked about something other than work and or school obligations? Hopefully this is something that's going to motivate us to do it if we have not, and or make some time to recalibrate. Shout out. Thank you so much, Alethea. Today, last week. For me personally, is different folks throughout the week, but I got my standard folks in the week. So that's my mom, that's my granddad, that's my brother, that's my partner. You feel me? But I think it's important for us to write it, because one thing is rewarded to see you are checking in with the people you love and the things you enjoy. And sometimes it's good to recognize, like, man, I've been going and going and going, and I honestly don't know when was the last time. And I see a range between today to last week. Some folks real honest about, I don't know, but what you say right here, I do not know if that's a thing for me unless I'm on break at home because of living, which is real. So never really feeling like you're away from it. So having to be creative with finding what balance looks like when you live where you work, that's a whole another presentation, but that's real. Like you don't know if you never feel like you can truly detach, but make it happen, Tawana. Like make it happen. Even if they gotta come to you and you gotta close in and unplug, make it happen. But I appreciate y'all for dropping in the chat the last time you checked in on a loved one. And for some of y'all, even just making time for something that you love to do. Like make sure that you're cognizant of when was the last time, and make it a habit, AKA schedule it, to make sure it's something you're consistently doing to where it's not even anything you're thinking about. And if you're like, I'm doing the most and I don't know, put it on the calendar, put it in your phone to remind yourselves, time to check in, time to go for that walk to nowhere, time to go up to Starbucks, or for me, Dairy Queen. It's time for me to get my sundae, my caramel sundae. Another thing to do for folks who are like, it's been a minute, I don't know. You can also drop in the chat, like when you're gonna make time to make it happen. But today, I appreciate you sharing, like not necessarily the loved ones, but trying to talk with friends about non-work things. That's big and that's important. So another additional thing I want to do before we kind of transition is talk a little bit more about the three other things that Jason Arde shared. So y'all heard the first one with recognizing when you're being asked to do extra work. You saw the second one when he talked about being cognizant of what it is that you're taking on, and the frequency in which you're taking it on, as well as protecting your time to be aware when you're finding yourself in overwhelm. And then another thing that I want us to share in the space is what clear life boundaries have you set in place to maintain that happiness, health, and peace of mind? So as far as boundaries, it can be something as simple as I work from 9 to 4:30. 4:31, if I'm not on duty, I'm not on call, I don't make myself available so I can go do the things I enjoy, or so I can go cook a good meal or get off campus and treat myself to something for those who live on campus. But go ahead, as far as reflection is concerned, and just share for those who are comfortable, what clear life boundaries have you set in place to maintain happiness, health, and peace of mind? And as y'all are sharing that, I'll share that Jason also shared that we must set clear work-life boundaries. So you gotta know what they are and why they are important to make sure you're doing it and doing it well. So shout out to folks. Yep, disabling Teams, Outlook notifications at 5. That's a big one to Darius. My phone on do not disturb until 9 a.m. I'm in the same boat with you, Liza. Jim, better get it in, Gabriel. I see you. So those clearer work-life boundaries, 5 p.m. off the clock. I love it. So it looks like y'all already have some really good, healthy things in place, which is necessary, especially when those busy seasons are coming and seem like they just won't let up. Not responding or engaging to anything related outside of the hours of 9 to 4, unless I'm on call. I see you and I hear you. I'm in the same boat. Staff know that my phone is called on, and if they're calling, it's in extreme case of emergency. That's real, Taylor. I know for me, I had to transition to a larger work environment. I was at a small institution prior to Florida State where it was just me, right? And then 2 grads holding things down, but always constantly being on call, it can be exhausting. So if you have that liberty when it comes to resources of other people power, like being okay to say, if we have a duty rotation, use it, right? I love that you trust me and you know me and I'm your supervisor. However, I also need my me time. So even explaining that and role modeling that for students and other staff members that you're supporting is important. But getting home at a set time each week, turning off work-related communication, y'all are on it. And that's something more that I'll be talking more about in our later slides down the road. And then the last thing that Jason said in this article is, in other words, he said, do the work. And I know we all know that, right? So in other words, essentially do what you do and do it well. So in the effort of being cognizant of what's being put on your plate, what you're being trusted with, protecting your time, acknowledging when you're overwhelmed, doing the work and doing it well is important. But another resource I'm gonna drop before we wrap up is in what's called the Times Higher Education. It is an excellent resource that talks more about being Black in the academy. But for folks who are not familiar with the Times Higher Education, essentially it's a website with a lot of different articles, podcasts, webinars that help individuals to navigate higher education, because being a racial minority or being minoritized, it can be a lot. But they essentially say that once you go there, you can drop some things in for self and to share out with others, as well as utilize it to continue conversations in the spaces that you serve in via volunteering or where you work at. But shout out to the Times Higher Education website. And for those who aren't familiar with it, I'll make sure to give y'all that link as well, because it's an amazing resource. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is move into talking more about our individual reality and our impact. So here's some more questions for those who are comfortable and can continue to share. Thank you so much, Alexis. I'm gonna have us talk to one another with these 3 questions, and you can choose whichever one you like, right? But when we talk about our personhood and how we impact the space that we occupy, It's good to be mindful of who you are and how you show up, and because it helps you to recognize when it's time for that day off just because. Either if you're pre-planning it a semester in advance or taking it on a month by month, every other week occasion, it's good to be cognizant. So I'm gonna have y'all share with me, like, what is your work environment like? Because we talk about culture definitely impacting the things we're able to do, how we show up. We hear a lot of talk about being your authentic self and those types of conversations, but for those who are comfortable just sharing, what is your work environment like? And how do you find the balance in the workspace? For me at FSU, work environment is something new every time. A lot of support, a lot of things also being questioned, but folks tend to be open to those hard and tough conversations. Also, we serve a lot of students who they don't hold back, right? It's the most simplistic words, a good deal of them, they entitled. They're gonna tell you that they feel away. They're gonna let you know how much money they invest and what they need. But that work environment is one that I'm comfortable with because I'm familiar with, right? And it's also a place of space where I don't have to jump through too many hoops when I say taking my day just because. Got a sign outside my door that lets folks know where I'm at because when you move up, you know, it's a lot of meetings, right? So for me, I got stuff like taking a walk to nowhere, taking a mental health day, on vacation, proctoring exams, administratively busy in case I got things to do and I can't have the door open, to available, come on in, all caps with a smiley face. You're more than welcome to come on in, whether the door is closed or not. But Tawana, I appreciate you sharing. Your work environment promotes work-life balance, short-staffed, and every department does not respect your boundaries. Real talk, which is why it is so important, in my opinion, something I'm learning, to have supervisors that advocate for you and leadership that has that backbone to be unafraid to communicate when we can do some things or all the things, and when our time needs to be respected so that we can focus on what we need to do for ourselves personally and or for our respective departments. But I appreciate you sharing what your work environment is like. And for folks who also want to drop in, how do you find work balance, your balance at work, or what do you bring into the environment? I appreciate that as well. To Darius share, my work environment is fairly siloed. With the structure of our building, staff on my side of campus are in their own buildings each day besides meetings. University, also PWI, often find myself changing how I speak so people understand me and minimize room for negative misinterpretations. Bless you. I appreciate you. It ain't for the faint. Also, proud of you for keeping it a buck because I see folks resonating with this reality when we have the code switch, right? A lot of us are familiar with it. In the name of assimilating so that folks aren't asking the 20 million questions or trying to get asked what's already been fully answered, things of that nature. But appreciate y'all sharing. And I see folks resonating with it being the same. And for our folks that are at Hispanic serving institutions, historically Black colleges and universities, those perspectives are important. And if you do have the capacity to share, I'd also love for y'all to drop a little bit in there as well. But I know respectability politics is no joke, regardless of a lot of institutions. Navigating a lot of new procedures for a new time professional at a new institution, newly merged department under new supervision. So change, whew, and a lot of it, right? So learning how to be flexible and adaptable. Also seeing if you can take advantage, right, of the opportunity to shift and mold the culture that you know is necessary to best serve your needs and those that you supervise. It's a lot of fun as well as a lot of overwhelming exhaustion that can come with newness and shifts and changes. But appreciate you sharing that. Yeah, but thanks for doing this reflection, sharing in the chat just different things when it comes to how are you finding your balance at work? You know, what is that environment like? Because it's really important to identify if it is life-giving or if it is draining. If it is welcoming, or if it is stressful. You know, if it is all of the above, which allows you to know, yep, this is that season where I'm gonna be gone, or I love the work I do. I could do a great deal administratively. Like, do I have the means to telework? Not in the office, but somewhere on campus, or nowhere near on campus, but somewhere in the community where I can respond within 10 to 15 minutes. So knowing how to advocate for yourself based on if the environment is something that complements your values and what drives you, or if it's an environment where it's a lot, but it's a paycheck and it's a season that you're working to get through. No respect of your free time, still unplugged. And let them know that they gotta respect it and you will not respond, because free time should be just that. But I apply folks that are able to do that hard thing, especially when they're in a work culture or environment that doesn't know how to treat an off day like an off day. As a young new professional, I find balance by attending university events and engaging as a regular person, removing my work hat. Also continue doing my own cultural things in the space of my office to maintain my identity. That's what's up today. Some of the most beautiful things I've seen in the past is folks creating the environment around them to be that thing that brings them joy, right? Everybody doesn't have the privilege to say, yes, I get to go to life. I get to wake up and just be me, pour into people, be organized, help people work through messy conversations. But to have an environment that speaks to you, like if I could move my camera around, y'all can see, like, I'm big on affirmation. So anything that has been a pour into your cup moment, be it from students, colleagues, folks past, present, or myself, I got it up. A couple scriptures, couple quotes, love me some Maya Angelou, Audre Lorde, like that is what I surround myself around. Family, some pictures drawn up by my love folks. What's gonna make me smile, right? What's gonna allow me to take some deep breaths? Bubbles, shout out to the bubbles when you gotta take those deep breath moments, because folks stressing you and trying you, or one more email done did it. But being mindful to take deep breaths, like I'm a bubbles fan, so I got all kind of bubbles in my office. Some folks do fidget toys and spinners and stress balls, but for me, it's the deep breaths and being mindful of how long I need to hold to smell the roses and blow out the candles. So whatever you need to do to center yourself to keep your joy on full, do that. So being mindful of your reality and your impact is key. And I love that y'all are engaging in the chat to share like what's what for you, and also answering and keeping it a buck with your colleagues and your supervisor. That's freedom on a whole nother level as well. But for the sake of time, I'm gonna go ahead and transition to our last couple slides, and then I'll kind of throw it back at y'all to keep talking with me. All right. Cool, cool. All right. So let me click here so we can transition. So leave work at work. Real talk. I don't even know if too much need to be said here, but I mean it, which is why I put an exclamation mark there. But for those that know me, I know I love quotes, and it says here, life is all about balance. You don't always need to be getting stuff done. Sometimes it's perfectly okay and absolutely necessary to shut down, kick back, and do nothing. This is something I had to learn the hard way. I have that story to where I allowed work to put my butt in an emergency room. And because of that story, when I tell you I don't play about my time, I don't play about my health, I don't play about just checking in to see how am I truly feeling, while I'm always talking about it so much, that's why. At the end of the day, it's so many quotes and conversations about you do great work, right? And it's going to be rewarded with more work. However, Lord forbid, if anything was to happen, what happens? The world keeps going, right? They put out position description. It'll get filled within a semester, depending on how fast your HR moves. Might be a year, who knows, right? But leave work at work. Show of thumbs, and this is real talk, no judgment. The little thumbs up emoticon for folks who get paid overtime to take work outside their jobs. I just want to see show of thumbs because I'm always curious in higher education student affairs. Who's out there by show of thumbs are the folks who get paid overtime to take work outside of their jobs. All right, so like y'all seeing what I'm seeing, we don't see, right? So I say all that to say, leave work at work. And I understand that there are exceptions, right, to the rule, especially for our folks that live where they work, you're on call and on duty, right? Or you're serving as essential personnel, and it's that moment when there's a crisis or an emergency, all hands on deck. I get it, and I understand that. But we also know this is not all the time. So remember to be confident and trust that your effective communication and your visibility is proof enough that you are a hard worker. If you are indeed a hard worker that's good at managing multiple people and priorities to the best of your ability. So at the end of the day, y'all, take that cape off and stop embracing imbalance in the name of work-life blend or whatever else that you like to call it. Learn how to get somewhere, like my mama say, sit down and do nothing and just be. So for those who needed to receive that word, please hold fast. Don't be mad. Don't throw it back at me. Let it sit and then follow through. At the end of the day, get somewhere, sit down, do nothing, like just be. And then tell yourself to leave it where it is. Like if you can, for folks who are like, you don't understand, like I gotta wear these hats, I'm in a small institution, I don't get that break. My challenge, my encouragement to you is try a trial week, right? Try a trial week where you turn off the work email from your phone. I saw some folks sharing, I just turn these notifications off. But give it a week, just try it out. It could be the email, it could be your GroupMe, your WhatsApp notifications. Try it, and then during those periods, refocus on doing you. If you like, I don't know when the last time I journal, I don't know when the last time I pulled out my video games or caught up on my Netflix shows or my Hulu, my Peacock streaming services, the whole nine. Like when you unplug, focus on something that gives you joy and keeps your cup in the overflow. So if it's going on a walking trail, you haven't been to the gym in a minute, if it's putting in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you got to do, make it happen. FaceTime with the homies, FaceTime with your family. For folks who've been talking about that trip, call up your people, plan that trip within the next 3 to 6 months and live your life outside of your work friends and work environment. Because at the end of the day, balance is what? Being in a position to where you're feeling and you're standing upright. And everything is at a good space to where even though it's a lot, you're not phased because you're focusing on the things that you need to be re-energized and show up as your best self. So that's my challenge. Give yourself just a trial week for folks who like, I've never done it before. If you like week too long, give yourself 3 days, 72 hours. Another challenge for folks is to give yourself a non-work related task and schedule it. For folks who know, I wrote a book, COVID Years. I have a habit of not knowing how then to like get somewhere and sit down. COVID taught me a lot. But something that I said was anything that you value, you're going to schedule the time to make it happen. So y'all remember on today's agenda, I had schedule it. So name it, give it a date and a time, and then give yourself a deadline to follow through on something that's yours and yours alone that has nothing to do with work. And then for those who already know like what it's going to be, like you like, I already know it. Drop in the chat and see, so we can all see what you got cooking up. Like, what is the thing that you are going to do? And I'm really hopeful that it inspires and empowers folks who are like, I hear you and I see you, but I don't see it. But let's inspire and empower one another to take the work hats off and focus on ourselves. And I see Swan, you shared you did it for Thanksgiving break. Literally the best was able to breathe and just be present, visiting with family. That's real. Nothing like it. And it feels so good, which is why I'm a fan of like those random just because days throughout the months. Because I feel like we go hard, pedal to the metal. Sometimes we know how to readjust and get in cruise control, but like we be on fumes to get to those holidays, right? And then it's like, it's wonderful, it's beautiful. And then that dread comes in when it's like, man, I got to get back to all of this stuff. And I don't even want to look at this inbox. It's about to be a hot mess. It is, however, deep breaths, one email at a time, 1 minute at a time. Wherever you at 4:59, if you're 8 to 5, or 4:30, if you're 9 to 4:30, stop, leave it where it's at, because it'll be there tomorrow. But shout out to that new paint set, making some portraits of yourself and family. I love it. But those are the things that matter And I feel like these are the things oftentimes we share with our staff to do, but do it. For me, I got my coloring book and my crayons. I have a 4-year-old, a 7-year-old, and a 9-year-old, and I don't play about my crayons and my coloring book. So all of that stuff is out of sight, so they don't mess with it. And when I want to be nice, I'll let them do a little page, put their little signature on it, you know. But it's those little things that really count for a lot to keep your joy in a good place and allow you to show up and do great work. Leave it where it's at the end of work and do great for yourself. But thank y'all for continuing to engage in the chat. Slowly made my way back in the stream and my games and producing music. Let's go. And if you got a link or somewhere where we can hear and see, don't be scared, folks. Drop your little plug, put it in the chat so we can support. But I love that. And I'm a tea girl, so at the end of the day, my little routine, when I'm kicking my little feet up and I'm telling them like, mommy needs 10 minutes. So like, we don't ask questions, y'all don't need nothing, you got your snack, you should be done with your homework by the time I get home. I'm sipping my hot tea, listening to my jams in the back guest room. And when I'm in a good place to, you know, be all the things and put those other hats on, that's what I do. But I love that. Morning walks before mandatory coffee. That's the start of the day. Let's go. Yeah, but don't walk to nowhere are my favorite, y'all. Appreciate y'all for sharing. Unplugging will bless you if you let it, as a dear friend of mine used to say back in my University of West Georgia days. So we at the end, y'all. I'm gonna just have, for those who feel comfortable, unplug, holler at me. But this is one of those last quotes I wanted to share. But anything on your mind in particular, anything you was hoping to hear or anything you wanted to ask, I'm both ears right now. Okay, so I'm gonna take that beautiful moment of silence as we're feeling good, we're doing good. So I'm gonna read this quote and we'll transition to that last slide. Anything else on you all's mind or questions just about what you was hoping to hear about or chat about a little bit more? My pleasure, y'all. Y'all are very welcome. And that's me right there as I transition to the next slide for folks who may just want to take like that screenshot. Gotcha. And for folks who are working on building their network, like please copy and paste one another's LinkedIn, emails, phone numbers, whole nine, because we do a lot, we go through a lot that's very similar, and it's nothing like having a few people you can call outside of your institution, sometimes outside of the profession, to like really talk about it, as well as game plan, network, collaborate on presentation and publication opportunities. But if y'all don't have any questions or some comments that you wanted to make, thank you for y'all time and attention. I truly hope that it did fill some cups. And if y'all do have questions and comments offline, please link up with me. That's my email address and my direct line to my personal phone. Yeah, but y'all are very welcome. Thank you very much. I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing so we can see everybody. All right, yeah, friends. Yeah, that was all I had.
Thank you so much. Can we give a round of applause or show love to Deanna in any way? Because there's been a lot of gems dropped and a lot of important things for us to reflect on how to continue to support both our growth as professional and especially how we navigate the world as people as well, which is the most important one. I want to take some time to introduce a couple of our Black Professional Network and some of the Kauai folks that helped us put all of this together. Again, my name is Alexa Montero, use him as pronoun, and I'm the programming chair for this year. And then next year, I'll transition into being a chair-elect starting January 1st for the Black Professionals Network. And I'll pass it to TK.
Hey, Deanna, you're amazing. I can't thank you enough for doing this for us. We greatly appreciate it. But hey, y'all, I'm Teresa McKyer, or TK. I'm an assistant director at UNCG, and I serve as the 2023 Black Professional Networks Chair. I am outgoing, so this is my final BPN roundtable. So I do want to thank you all so much and my board for all of the wonderful things they've done this year. And I will be turning it over to Amber Stoltz, who's the 2024 chair, and Alexis Montero, who's the 2025 chair. So we are super, super excited to continue to help and develop you all. But I am so thrilled to have the opportunity to be around you all and serve this year.
All right, thank you so much, TK. I'm like, not us working the same hair.
Go hair, go.
Right, okay. So I am Amber Stoltz, and as it was already mentioned, I will be the chair for the 2024 year. Prior to that, this past year, I was the chair-elect, and I was programming chair in 2022. So you'll definitely be connecting with me if you're interested in open positions we have or joining an upcoming committee. We will have more information. The biggest thing is you have to sign up for our Connect Hub, or if you moved institutions or things like that, we prefer it's like a Gmail or Yahoo or whatever you use, just because like as you change institutions, we're not having to like constantly re-find you and reconnect you. It's a little bit more ongoing. You can unsubscribe at any time, but that's the easiest way to know about our roundtables, events, and get connected and plugged in. We appreciate you all joining us. And with that, I will turn it over to Kayla.
Hey y'all. My name is Kayla Harris. I am currently a community director at SIUE, out here in Edwardsville, Illinois. I am currently the communications chair for the BPN. So I'm the one who sends out all of the emails, newsletters, and all of that other lovely things. Next year will be my last year in the BPN. And I will be the outreach chair. Yeah.
Co-chair.
Sorry. I will be the outreach co-chair. Which just focuses on our external like outreach for the network. Jafar, want to go?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Jafon Stubbs. I am currently a residence hall director at the University of Connecticut over here with Alexis. This past year for BPN, I was the chair-elect for communications. So backing up Kayla, helping her out with anything that she needed. For the following year, for next year, God willing, I will be the member at large. So doing a lot of things, just making sure people are engaged. One of my key responsibilities will be the mentorship program. So just connecting entry-level folks with some mid or upper-level folks to make sure that we have reciprocity and people giving back and all that good stuff. So really happy to be here. And yeah, add me on LinkedIn. Jeez. Who else is here?
You can pass it over to Alexis from ACOI if you have any updates
Yes.
you want to share.
Alexis from ACOI, you take it away.
Awesome. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Deanna, for your presentation. And thank you to BPN for all of your organization and bringing this together. My name is Alexis Foley. I am an educational program coordinator with the home office and the professional staff leader for the Black Professionals Network, along with a handful of our other affinity-based networks. Yeah, great to see you all. And I'll probably see you at future events.
And before we go, since it's TK's last meeting, please drop in the chat and give TK her flowers because you deserve it. Thank you, TK, for all the great work you have put into BPN, and we appreciate you, and you will be missed. But folks, feel free to join our group me and our Connect Hub, and please don't forget to give folks their flowers and have a great holiday as well. Take care.